Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today we are going to take a look at all of the features and deliverables starting work in the month of November. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, in particular to Spiky Imp for rejoining as a channel member, and the same to Diplomat for upping your pledge to VIP. Thank you guys so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So each month I like to put together a video that takes a look at all of the work that is kicking off each month and also finishing each month, just to keep us all more informed as to what work is going on in the background. Before we do get to it though, just because a feature on the progress tracker has work beginning or completing in a particular month doesn't necessarily mean that it will release that quarter, the next quarter, or even in that year, as there could still be some work required from other teams, like the downstream teams being people like audio or visual effects and so on. All priorities can of course shift and things can get pushed back until needed. It is, however, a great guide to see what could potentially come to the PU when, but at the very least it shows what work is being scheduled at what time in the year. So with that out of the way, let us take a look at all of the deliverables and features that have work starting in this month, being November. Let's kick it off with the Fire Extinguisher. Now, the fire and fire hazard propagation system we have seen evolve over the last year and a bit, and last we saw was how it can spread throughout a ship, reacting appropriately to the various materials that make up that ship. It looks to be a pretty impressive system that looks and reacts realistically, taking all kinds of elements into account. So in order to effectively tackle fire, a fire extinguisher is certainly something you would expect. Of course, you will be able to use the ship systems to put out the fire in various ways, like venting or cutting off oxygen, but a traditional fire extinguisher is going to be quite important. Now, the work on the fire hazard system is coming to an end this month, which will be in my work finishing video, so definitely a good time to get the fire extinguisher ready. Now, this has 2 weeks work that kicks off towards the end of this month and completes in early December, and it says all tasks required to implement functioning fire extinguishers in game. This feature will work alongside the fire hazard system. Is this a feature that could make it in for 3.16? I really hope so. I do think it is possible, especially with things like ship-to-ship refueling coming. Fire will probably be quite a common mishap while we are all getting used to how the system works. So let's hope for 3.16, but the chances are it could just be next year. Anyway, next on my list we have Refinery Ships. Now, the work on this begun towards the end of November, but does last 30 weeks, all the way through until June next year. So even if we do see something like the Starfarer Refinery variant that we've heard about anytime soon, it won't likely be functioning properly until mid to late next year. Anyway, this feature says certain ships will have refineries built into them, allowing players to process ores using a completely onboard process. A very useful ship for supporting miners planetside, so they don't have to travel to refinery stations, but it will not be until next year that we see ships capable of this. And I presume the Starfarer Refinery variant will be the first, unless CIG have something else up their sleeves, which I certainly wouldn't put it past them. So the next feature we have is called Probability Volume Encounter Density Refactor. Quite a mouthful, but this probability volume is tech that will determine whether you would run into an AI encounter on your travels or not, and who you are likely going to see in certain areas of space. For example, there could be a larger amount of haulers in one particular area than another, which could then be enticing pirates or security. And so as you travel around the area, there is a good probability that you could encounter a hauler being attacked by a pirate, which will then give you the option whether you want to help or not. Right now, with what the Systemic Services and Tools team have been working on initially, these probability volumes sound like they are just hard-coded and static. This refactor says it will allow for them to have much more control of how probability volumes are created from the back end, so they can dynamically change the feel of the game through other services like Quantum, so allowing the Quantum simulation to handle the economy and AI and what they get up to, thus determining the chance of these encounters. Now, the work on this refactor is kicking off at the end of the month, does last 23 weeks, so finishing early May. Hopefully we will still see the first rollout of the quantum simulation, likely with these static probability volumes, if at all, for the end of the year, as Tony Zurevec did specify on the CitizenCon panel that they are hoping to get the starting point of quantum out for 3.16, and it does say on the monthly report that his team have wrapped up their work, so now they're just optimizing. So the chances are good. So hopefully we can see these probability volumes come into play without the need for them to be dynamic straight away, but we will see. Now, there is one unannounced vehicle scheduled to kick off its work with the narrative team this month, right at the end of the month, but it only lasts 2 weeks until early December. Now, narrative is pretty much where this whole process of creating a ship starts, from working out the lore behind the ship or the vehicle, who makes it, its history, and everything else that goes into the initial creation of the ship. No idea what this ship could be. We won't likely see or hear anything about this ship until it does reach the concept phase, when images are generated and narrative have properly decided on what this ship is, so only time will tell here. So the last deliverable that is kicking off its work in November is one that I am certain many will be happy to hear. It is roads. Now, this feature says adapting existing terrain deformation and river tech to create road tooling and visuals, allowing designers to add roads into game environments. Now, the work on roads began earlier this month and is expected to last around 15 weeks, so finishing around mid-February next year. I have no idea exactly how or what they are planning for roads. What I really hope to see and somewhat expect is for roads to appear in certain cities. For example, it would be cool if they could add roads to New Babbage once there are more locations in the city to travel to without having to rely on the trams and whatnot. That would probably require a hell of a lot of work, but on the smaller scale, it would be great to see roads connecting villages or towns together. Imagine on a planet like Microtech or Hurston having various settlements, villages and towns that we know CIG want to create, connecting many of them, allowing NPCs or even players, if they so choose, to drive between them. Do note that although ships are very common in the 30th century, and obviously every player needs to have a ship in order to get access to the game, similar to how cars are today, not every NPC will have a ship. So giving an ability for NPC traders or caravans or just civilians travelling from one settlement to another, roads could be quite useful. Also, I do expect, as CIG continue to develop other cities or hero landing locations for all the various planets and systems beyond Stanton and Pyro, having some cities with roads will probably be a bit of a must. Maybe not applying roads to the cities we have now, but in the future most definitely. So I'm personally very excited to see roads develop and see what CIG have planned for the road systems in the near term, but also long term. We will get rivers planetside first though, so there is that to look forward to before roads come along. So there you have it. That is currently all of the work scheduled to kick off this month according to the progress tracker. Not a great amount, but each and every one of these deliverables are pretty awesome features in their own way that I'm excited for. I will be releasing a video soon highlighting all of the work that has come to an end in November. So if you do enjoy my content and want to see that, do consider subscribing. Also, if you want to hang out and chat all about Star Citizen, the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, all of these new ships that are coming out, or just hang out and watch me play some 315.1, then do join me over at twitch.tv/supermacbrothers. You are all more than welcome. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you would like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, huge thank you to my patrons and channel members for your support, it is truly appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.